Hello everybody, it's Dante. Thank you for tuning in. I'm about to begin a channeling for some questions submitted through Patreon. Thanks again for tuning in and hope you enjoy this transmission. Hello, and we say a very good day to you. We thank you once again for allowing yourselves to be open to this vibration and receiving this transmission, this interaction with us. It is a great pleasure for us, and it allows us to expand in the same way it allows you to expand. And together, we each come closer to that plane at which we can meet each other in more tangible ways. And this will be a point of great excitement and expansion for us both. And we thank you for doing all that you may to continue to raise your frequency to meet us. So we have many interesting ideas to discuss today, as there are many powerful changes occurring on your planet. And the first thing we would like to discuss are the fires occurring in your world now. There are potent fires all over your world, and those that are affecting Australia are the worst that have come so far in your past year and your recent years. However, there are more in your Amazon, in your Siberia, in Africa, and the questioners have asked, what is the purpose of this? Is it a clearing away and releasing? And to some extent, yes. To another extent, it is a warning. Understand that there are many different timelines open and available to you. And those of you who are doing the work, so to speak, in the way that you wish to, in being of service to others, in living a life of love, in allowing your heart to guide you, and using balance and spiritual discernment in your decisions, are following that timeline in which your planet ascends. Though there are many on your planet who are actually going on a different timeline. And there is an interesting phenomena occurring in which different trajectories, those who are going to different destinations, in other words, are currently inhabiting the same planet. It is much like you go to an airport, and everyone in the airport is going to a different destination. Your planet is much like an airport, and every plane is a different timeline. And when you get on the plane, you go through it, and you get off, you find yourself in a very different reality. And these shifts happen more quickly all the time. And we want you to know that there are many of these warnings occurring of the potential of a more destructive future. And such fires were a very common experience for species that you could consider the Greys, and many others who have gone down that more negatively oriented, technological, mind-dominated timeline. And this is a moment to take accountability, to find ways that you are passionate about doing something about your climate. Now, this is something that everyone will approach in a very different and unique way. Many directly get involved. Some plant trees. Some educate others about the power and importance of connecting with the earth, natural forms of healing. as truly the more connected to the earth people become, the more they realize the earth's healing potential and power, the less they will do harm to the earth, the more they will become aware that they are a part of nature and all that they do affects nature. You can create art that inspires others to do something different. You can call politicians, call influential people, and ask them to get on board and change their way. Now, what you do will feel right in your heart. And if you feel unsettled by this, it is possibly because there is more that you could be doing, and your heart will know what it is that is your unique and passionate way of contributing to, of voting for, so to speak, the earth that is re-greened. Now, the traditional ways of preventing fires is something you must reinvestigate. The way of the indigenous people, how they prevented fire, how they dealt with it, must be reinvestigated. And many of the ways that they approached tending the land must be reapplied and relearned. Now, your diet indeed must change over time for the current model of capitalism that produces more food than necessary, yet does not deliver it to the people who need it, and food is wasted. This model must change. And as well, the ways that you eat food, the foods that you eat, must change as well. And the meat consumption must be changed. You can, of course, handle little bits of it, wild raised meats. If you want to have a coop of chickens, for example, there are ways that you do not have to let go of this if you are still finding yourself attached to it. You can even go back to the old indigenous ways of connecting with wild animals and hunting, if that is what calls to you. Understand that eating meat or not eating meat is not a question of one way being better or worse, or more or less spiritual than the other. It is the way that you do it. Yet the way that your current system does it has no respect for the life of the animals. And because of this, the karma, as you call it in your world, inevitably brings destruction in those areas where these practices are common. And the Amazon, for example, is an example of this. So much of it has been cleared away that the natural ways that the Amazon itself will protect itself from such fires and disasters is damaged. And there is much work that must be done. And so that will tie into another question that has come, yet continuing. It is this remembrance of the ways of the indigenous that will support you. It is that remembrance that you are part of, one with, connected to the earth, that will support you. And again, if you do eat meat, it is a way that you must learn how to consciously call in the spirit of the animal. Ask permission. Learn the way that is most appropriate to use this animal. And the way that things are currently being done is very, very far from this ancient model. In your future, however, a plant-based diet will be what is most commonplace and what is known to be the healthiest and highest vibration. If you have personal belief systems that prevent you from assimilating this diet, your body will not be able to adjust, even though it will be healthier if you brought your belief systems on board. And this is an understanding of the mind being often much more powerful than you give it credit for. The mind can generate or sabotage health if there are belief systems that certain things are not healthy or are healthy. And so you must come to find yourself in a neutral state as much as you can. And meditation is one of the most powerful ways of doing this. Learning how to clear your mind, clear your sensory input, coming back to a stasis, a neutral place where you are simply observing. In that place, you can clear yourself of belief, or you can suspend those beliefs and come into a more direct experience. And bit by bit, you can clear away the belief systems that say one thing is better than another and simply have a direct experience. And the more you do this, the more we assure you, you will come to a more natural plant-based diet, very high in fruits. Yes, fruits. And of course, with many other vegetables, and for many of you grains, for some of you not. And this will be something very powerful for your planet. There are many light workers and otherwise spiritual people who believe that they need a heavier base material to ground the high frequency energies they are working with. And what is occurring when somebody comes from a high vibrating meditative or other spiritual experience and uses meat or any other such food or substance to ground is actually that they lower their personal vibration. And the lowering of vibration creates a feeling of release that they interpret as grounding. To lower one's vibration and to ground one's vibration are two very, very different things. And when you take in toxic substances or meats that are the result of a heavy, negative agricultural industry, you take in those toxic vibrations that separate you from the high flying states. And because your world is in, for many parts, your society, not your world, we could say, is in this blur of the lower vibrations, you seem to believe that coming back into a more normal appearing state is actually a grounding, but it is not. Now, the real integration comes in being able to witness and hold space for the chaos and for the animosity and for the fear that your society runs in, and still remain in your elevated high frequency. And there is a belief system that you must undo, that being in that high elevated frequency makes you more vulnerable to those energies around you. When really this high flying frequency, when you learn to use it right, can be a sort of protection. And it is not a please protect me universe that is going to make this work. It is a I am a bearer of light, and I hold my energy powerfully. I do not allow the vibrations of others to alter my personal vibration. I offer a vibration of elevation and hope wherever I may go. And using that as your mantra, if you wish, as the baseline of your attitude, will help you understand that no matter what high-flying experiences you may have in meditation, in spiritual community, in channeling, in sound healing, in yoga, in any such experience you undergo, you can still hold that energy out in your world. And that is really what your world needs. All right, so we have rambled quite a lot. Though getting back to this original question, again about these fires, it really comes back to an abuse of the land. That is what you are seeing. And so when you return to the land and nurture the land, you will see changes. And those of you in Australia may do very well to use the coming times to change your strategies and take more action so that in the coming times you may be more prepared to prevent such experiences and set an example for those otherwise around your world to hold a greater space of love and light open. All right. And the next question related is about those in South America, women particularly in South America. What is the most important experience for them now? What is the most important tool or undertaking for them to step into? And well, there are many facets to this. And so, of course, when you speak of this large continent, we understand that there are many different cultures and many different ways. And so there are some places in which women are more empowered already. And there are others in which women are still under many attacks and subversions. And what is really important is for women to come together and to support each other and to show each other and teach each other that they are powerful, that they are equal to men, and that they have a very important role to play, and a very important role that they are not being asked to play fully quite yet. And so they must show the world that they are capable of doing that. And so you may find in many places women reaching out to other women to help them step into their empowerment, to help them become leaders, creators, political activists, spiritual teachers, and many other opportunities that are often relegated for men. And it is the peer-to-peer support, the community support that nurtures and brings out that power within women that is key. And another facet of this is, well, especially in places where this power is already upsurging, is for women to get more deeply in touch with the earth power, to, like we were saying with this first question, bring back the indigenous wisdom. Many here forget that they are indigenous It is in their blood because they have been acculturated to a more modern life, to a new language that has not been running through all of their blood for generation back. One thing that may be helpful is for many women in these areas to relearn bits of ancient languages in these areas. And within many of these languages are vibrational codes that switch on certain understandings in relation to the universe and the earth, to get back in touch with natural forms of healing, as many women are doing, is a very important thing. And this will continue, this will spread, this will become a much more common thing. And in some places where it may not be yet so common to have women's circles, to work with yoni eggs or moon cups, to work with rites of fertility, to work with the many deep mysteries that have to do with being a woman, you will be forerunners. You will be dealing with discomfort for many around you. Yet the work you are doing in those areas is even more important than in the areas in which this work may already be happening. So be networkers and do this work deeply. Connect with these ancient ways, connect with the plant medicines, and understand your willingness is key. Understand that the time is now. Understand that the power is within you and nothing is holding you back. In many of these, even indigenous cultures, due to the influence of colonization, men have become predominantly the leaders, yet it has not always been this way. And so you must reclaim your position, reclaim your ability to hold spaces equally and set each other up for success. And this does not necessarily come from or with fighting the patriarchy, fighting arrogant leaders. You may, of course, engage in political actions if that is inspiring to you. Yet the resistance, the fighting, the protesting, the anger often only makes that system worse. And that system of patriarchy and of control is already collapsing. It is already burning to the ground. What you need to do is create something new in its place. And by building the foundation of a new earth now, you need not worry about the old system. It will destroy itself. And what you are building the foundation of will blossom and grow and fortify as the old falls away. So allow us to continue. Another part of this question was about the light grids related to the Lemurian sisterhood. And we say about this that it is indeed expanding very much. And even areas that were not once influenced by the Lemurians are now receiving this energy, as those of you who are doing energy grids, crystal grids, and so on and so forth, take this energy and bring it around with you around the world. At etheric levels, you are creating a union of forgiveness and love between Atlantean and Lemurian energies and karmas. And as the Atlantean energies are now coming to understand what it means to have abused power and how to now use power in healthy ways, the Lemurian energies are learning what it means to have neglected and to now make the space to nurture and to stand in one's power. In other words, in past times, the Lemurians were very peaceful, loving spiritual beings, yet they did not want to go out of their way to spread that peace. They kept it inside themselves. They kept it in their own meditations. And there are many Lemurian energy people now who can still be this way. Yet what is occurring as the ascension energies go up and up is that people who do this, who simply meditate and stay on their own, who isolate and stay with themselves, perhaps with their lovely crystals and bowls and their nice environments that they've created, are finding what many are describing as ascension flus or flukes, flops even, where that peacefulness of solitude is being disturbed because it is necessary to go out and pioneer a bit, to go out and take this peaceful, powerful energy and implant it in new and greater locations. So the Lemurian grid is expanding as you expand it. And as you take charged crystals or objects or seeds or anything that suits your heart and plant it in these special locations that you are drawn to, you allow that Lemurian grid to expand and you allow those energies and those pathways to grow as well. Of course, when you are connected with the ocean and bodies of water, especially that Pacific Ocean from any side, you expand powerfully into this Lemurian energy at a greater ease in your meditation and at will. And it is a great love that you can feel, a cosmic sort of surrender that fills you. And as you keep inviting in these guides, you certainly will find that many of your own lifetimes in these places come to you to support you, to reach out to you. And we say to all of you, yes, that you have other lifetimes, other connections. There are no souls that have no connections to anything. And so in your meditations, ask for them to come. And if you don't know how to trust your intuition, if you don't know how to use your clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, study it a bit. Perhaps take some courses. Most importantly, you must believe in the validity of your other senses. You must undo the conditioning that these other senses are simply something you make up, are simply child's play. And for some that is more work than others, and for some, those senses, that gate has never been shut down. And one thing that is very great mission for many high vibration souls, and certainly for souls of the Lemurian sisterhood, is to create structures of education or even communities so that new children do not have to shut down at all. That new children, in fact, get a leading learning edge, and are able to stay open and use the greater openness of a child's eyes to find specific and unique ways of using their psychic gifts at very young ages. This is something that if you create the structure for it, they will come. You will find those who are ready. And if this is something that you are passionate about, unite with others with that same passion and allow those souls to come to you. For this is a great mission and something that has been done in the Lemurian sisterhood in very ancient times as special children. Well, they were all special, yet those with very unique gifts were spotted and brought to develop them in unique ways, especially for them. All children were really encouraged to find their own path, their own way. And those of you in this system will be very important in doing this in the times to come. Now, there was another question from somebody about their use of light language. They were wondering where specifically this light language comes from. Now,